Good morning, Chahin. Welcome to my class. Again, we will discuss the same thing. After seeing that wounded American soldier, what they would decide, how they would treat that man, what would be their final decision about the American soldier. This is not easy, but life always surprises us. What is he? Hannah whispered. There is something about him that looks American. Sadao said. He took up the battered cap. Yes, there almost gone was the faint lettering. A sailor, he said, from an American warship. He spelled it out, US Navy. The man was a prisoner of war. Now this thing is confirmed that he is a prisoner of war, battered, torn and worn out. Hannah was inquisitive as she asked about the man's identity. Sadao replied that he appeared to be an American. He picked up the torn cap and read the word written on it, which was slightly visible. He said that the man was a sailor from an American warship and read out the word US Navy. He has escaped, Hannah cried softly, and that is why he is wounded. In the back, Sadao agreed. Sadao and Hannah discussed that the man had tried to escape from the prison and had been shot in the back. And shot at the back is indication that he tried to escape. He was not encountered. He was trying to escape. They hesitated, looking at each other. Then Hannah said with resolution, "Come, are we able to put him back into the sea?" They were not able to gather the courage to throw him into the sea. Hannah called upon Sadao with firmness. She asked him if he was ready to put him into the sea. "If I am able, are you?" Sadao asked. "No," Hannah said, "but if you can do it alone." Sadao told her that he was able to do so and asked that did Hannah have the courage for it. Hannah replied in the negative and added that if he could not do it by himself, then she had to help him. So it's a very interesting situation occur in this story कि both ask each other to do the same. They are not willing to do this thing by themselves. They ask to their partners to keep that man into the water. Why? They don't want to take blame for themselves. They don't want to take a guilt for lifelong. So they ask to each other. Sadao hesitated again. The strange thing is, he said that if the man were whole, I could turn him over to the police without difficulty. I care nothing for him. He is my enemy. All Americans are my enemy, and he is only a common fellow. You see how foolish his face is, but since he is wounded, you can notice the dilemma of Dr. Sadao, not the Sadao, but Dr. Sadao. You can notice the dilemma of Dr. Sadao. What he said that he would throw him into the water if he was a complete man. It means he was wounded right now. The man was not conscious, so it's not good for him to do all those. Sadao was reluctant in throwing the man into the sea. He reasoned, and what he reasoned, he tried to justify himself that why he was not willing to throw that man. He is hesitant, and he is justifying his hesitation by adding that he is not concerned with the man because all Americans are his enemy. But he cannot do this with an injured man. Even he is saying that what a foolish man he looked. But whatever he said, he tried to justify himself. You also cannot throw him back to the sea, Hannah said. Then there is only one thing to do. We must carry him into the house. So, what's the resolution they got? Both understood this fact that both could not throw this man into the water. So, what's the option left except to carry him into their house? Hannah said, but the servants now they are afraid. Sada was concerned that the servant would object as they would shelter an enemy. We must simply tell them that we intend to give him to the police, as indeed we must, Sada. We must think of the children and your position. It would be endanger all of us if we did not give this man over as a prisoner of war. Certainly, Dr. Sada agreed. I would not think of doing anything else. Hannah said that they would tell them that they intended to hand over to the police. They are not interested to keep that man in their house. They know their position will be in danger, and now they are convinced to take this man inside the house. Thus agreed together, they lifted the man. He was very light, like a fowl that had been half starved for a long time until it is only feathers and skeleton. So his arms hanging, they carried him up the steps and into the side door of the house. This door opened into a passage, and down the passage they carried the man towards an empty bedroom. Sada and Hannah lifted the injured man into the house. He was very light. The writer compares his weight to the hen that has not been fed for a long time, and its body loses flesh and reduces into mere feathers and skeleton. The man's arms were hanging and reduces in, and the dew carries him to the empty room. It had been the bedroom of Sada's father, and since his death it had not been used. They laid the man on the deeply matted floor. Everything here had been Japanese to please the old man, who would never in his own home sit on a chair or sleep in a foreign bed. Hannah went to the wall cupboards and slid back a door and took out a soft quilt. She hesitated. The quilt was covered with flowered silk, and the lining was as pure white silk. So they took him into Sir Dr. Sada's father's bedroom. The man was very injured. Hannah took out a new, very beautiful quilt, but she was hesitated to use it. He is so dirty, he murmured in a distress. Yeah, he had better to be washed, the Sadao agreed. If you will fetch hot water, I will wash him. Distress, sadness. She was sad and spoke slowly that the man was very dirty. Sadao said that the man had to be washed. Sadao asked Hannah to get hot water so that he could wash the man. I cannot bear for you to touch him, she said. We shall have to tell the servants he is here. I will tell Yumi. Now she can leave the children for a few minutes and she can wash him. Hannah did not want that Dr. Sadao touch that man, but she said she would ask her maid servant to wash him. Sadao considered a moment. Let it be so, he agreed. You tell Yumi and I will tell the others. But the utter pallor of the man's unconsciousness face moved him first to stop and feel his pulse. It was faint, but it was there. He put his hand. It was faint, but it was there. This line indicated that the man was not in consciousness. He was unconscious, but he was not dead. He put his hand against the man's cold breast. The heart too was yet alive. Pallor, an unhealthy pale appearance. Stoop, bend forward. Stoop, pulse, heartbeat. He will die unless he is operated on, Dr. Sadao said, considering. The question is whether he will not die anyway. Sadao commented that if the man was not operated upon, he would die. He added that even if he was operated upon and saved, he would die at the hands of the Japanese army. So either way, he would die. Hana cried out in fear, "Don't try to save him. What if he should live?" Hana screamed with fear and asked Sadao not to save the man. She feared that if he lived, they would be in danger. "What if he should die?" Sadao replied. He stood gazing down on the motionless man. This man must have extraordinary vitality, or he would have been dead by now. But then he was very young, perhaps not yet 25. "You mean die from the operation?" Hana said. "Yes, Dr. Sadao. Vitality, energy, life." Sadao questioned that what would be the implication if the man died. He looked down towards the injured man and wondered that he had a lot of energy which had kept him alive through such torture. He countered his thought with the fact that the man was very young. He seemed to be 25 years of age, and that age people do have a lot of energy. Hana considered this doubtfully, and when she did not answer, Sadao turned away. "At any rate, something must be done with him," he said, "and first he must be watched." He went quickly out of the room and Hana came behind him. She did not wish to be left alone with the white man. He was the first she had seen since she left America, and now he seemed to have nothing to do with those who had known there. Here he was, her enemy, a menace, living or dead. Menace or danger. Hana was wondering over his possibility, and as she was talking time to reply what they were thinking that there was no use of succumb to death. Either way, the man would have to face the death. She turned to the nursery and called Yummy, but the children heard her voice and she had to go in the room for a moment and smile at them and play with the baby boy, now nearly 3 months old, over the baby's soft black hair. She motioned with her mouth, "Yummy, come with me. Nursery, a room in a house for the special use of your children." Hana turned to the children's room. "I will put the baby to bed," Yummy replied. "He is ready." She went with Yummy into the bedroom next to the nursery and stood with the boy in her arms while Yummy spread the sleeping quilts on the floor and led the baby between them. Then Hana led the way quickly and softly to the kitchen. The 2 servants were frightened at what their master had just told them. The old gardener, who was also a house servant, pulled a few hairs on his upper lip. Hana led the way as they walked fast toward the kitchen. The 2 servants in the kitchen were scared after hearing their master's words regarding the injured man. The old gardener, who also worked as a servant, was pondering over the news and pulling the hair from his upper lip. "The master out not to heal the wound of this white man," he said bluntly to Hana. "The white man out to die first. He was shot. Then the sea caught him and wounded him with the rocks. If the master healed what the gun did and what the sea did, they will take revenge on us." Bluntly, a straightforward manner. The old gardener spoke bluntly to Hana. He said that Sadao must not treat the injured white man. When they asked to their servant to wash that man, what they said, it's not very interesting kind of thing. This is the general common thinking of a common man toward their enemy. जैसे ही उन्होंने सुना कि वो एक जापानी डॉक्टर होके और एक अमेरिकन को बचाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, तो उनके गार्डनर ने क्या कहा कि जो काम गोली नहीं कर सकी, जो काम नुकीले पत्थर चट्टाने नहीं कर सकी, अगर उसको आप बचाएंगे तो सारे मिलकर आपके ऊपर बद्दुआ बन के आएंगे, आपके मुसीबतें लाएंगे, बलाएं लाएंगे। ये तो कहने की बात है। रियलिटी ये है कि वो चाहते नहीं थे कि उनके घर में अमेरिकन को ट्रीटमेंट दिया जाए, और इस बात से वो बहुत नाराज़ होते थे, बहुत ज़्यादा नाराज़ होते थे। और वो कहते हैं कि इफ़ दे ट्रीटेड द एनिमी दे वुड बी पनिश्ड बाय जापान। "I will tell him what you say," Hana replied courteously, but she herself was also frightened. Although she was not superstitious as the old man was, could it over be well to help an enemy? Nevertheless, she told Yummy to fetch the hot water and bring it to the room where the white man was. Courteously and politely, superstitions, irrational belief. She went ahead and slid back to the partition. Sada was not yet there. Yummy, following, put down her wooden bucket. Then she went over the white man. When she saw him, her thick lips folded themselves into stubbornness. I have never washed a white man, she said, and I will not wash so dirty a one now. और जब वो पानी लेकर पहुंचती है तो यमी जो है बहुत गुस्से में आके और एकदम ज़िद के साथ इनकार कर देती है कि मैंने आज तक कभी नहीं किया है और मैं किसी अमेरिकन का बिल्कुल भी नहीं करूँगी. Hannah cried at her severely, "You will do what your master commands you." Hannah reacted to Yummy's refusal. She screamed at her that she was supposed to follow her master's order. There was so fierce a look of resistance upon Yummy's round, dull face that Hannah felt unreasonably afraid. After all, if the servants should report something that was not as it happened. Very well, she said with dignity. You understand, we only want to bring him to his senses so that we can turn him over as a prisoner. Hannah changed her expressions to respect and said, very well. She explained to Yummy that they intended to bring the unconscious man into his senses and then they would hand him over as a prisoner. I will have nothing to do with it, Yummy said. I am a poor person and it is not my business. Yummy said that she was not concerned about their plan. She added that she was a poor person and it was none of her business to know about their plans. Then please, Hannah said gently, return to your own work. At once Yummy left room, but this left Hannah with the white man alone. She might have been too afraid to stay had not her anger at Yummy's stubbornness not sustained her. Hannah said to Yummy that then she should return to her work. Yummy left the room at once. Hannah was again left alone with the white man. She would have been afraid to remain there all alone, but her anger or Yummy's firm determination made her stay in the room. Stupid Yummy, she muttered fiercely. Is this anything but a man, and a wounded, helpless man? In the conviction of her own superiority, she bent impulsively and united the knotted rugs that kept the white man covered. When she had his breast bare, she dipped the small clean towel that Yummy had brought into the steaming hot water and washed his face carefully. The man's skin, though rubbed with exposure, was of a fine texture and must have been very blunt when he was a child. Conviction, firm belief, impulsively to do something sudden without thinking. Hannah was so full of anger at the refusal by the maid. While she was thinking these thoughts, though not really liking the man better now that he was no longer a child, she kept on washing him until his upper body was quite clean, but she dared not turn him over. Where was Sadao? Now her anger was ebbing and she was anxious again, and she rose, wiping her hands on the wrong towel. Then lets the man to be chilled. She put the quilt over him. Ebbing, decreasing gradually, rose, stood up, chilled, freeze due to cold weather. Hannah kept on cleaning the man's supper body, and then she lived and wondered where Dr. Sadao is. He had been about to come in when she called. His hand had been on the door and now he opened it. She saw that he had brought his surgeon's emergency bag and that he wore his surgeon's coat. You have decided to operate? She cried. Yes, he said shortly. He turned his back to her and unfolded a sterilized towel upon the floor of the tokonoma alcove and put his instrument out upon it. Hana asked Sadao that had he decided to operate the man. Sadao replied that he had decided to operate him. He turned his back to Hana as he did not want her to object to his decision. Sadao started his work. He opened a sterilized towel on the floor of the Tokoma alcove and placed his surgical instrument. Sadao asked Hana to get some towels. She went obediently, but how annexes now to the linen shelves and took out the towels. There out also to be old pieces of matting so that the blood would not ruin the fine floor covering. She went out to the back veranda where the gardener kept strips of matting with which to protect delicate shrubs on cold nights and took an armful of them. But when she went back into the room, she saw this was useless. The blood had already soaked through the packing in the man's wound and had ruined the mat under him. Oh, the mat, she cried. Yes, it is ruined, Sadao replied, as though he did not care. Help me to turn him, he commanded her. She obeyed him without a word and he began to wash the man's back carefully. On seeing the stained mat, Hana cried that the mat had been spoiled. Sadao agreed that the mat had been ruined in such manner which indicated that he was not bothered by it. Yummy would not wash him, she said. Did you wash him then? Sadao asked, not stopping for a moment. His swift, concise movement. Yes, she said. He did not seem to hear her, but she was used to his absorption when he was at work. She wondered for a moment if it mattered to him what was the body upon which he worked so long as it was for the work he did so excellently. Concise, short. Hana told Sadao that Yummy had refused and she did it. You will have to give the anesthetic if he needs, he said. If she repeatedly blankly, but never having. It is easy though, he said impatiently. He was taking out the packing now and the blood began to flow more quickly. He peered into the wound with the bright surgeon's light fastened on his forehead. The bullet is still there, he said with cool interest. Now I wonder how deep this rock wound is. If it is not too deep, it may be that I can get the bullet. But the bleeding is not superficial. He has lost much blood. Sadao told Hana that she would have to inject the injured man with a substance that induce intense insensitivity to pain. Hana replied that she had never done that, but Dr. Sadao said to do that. At this moment, Hana choked. He looked up and saw her face the color of sulfur. Her face, the color of sulfur, is a yellow color. When Hana saw Sadao inspecting the wound, she could not see the site, and so she cupped. Sadao looked at her and saw that her face was yellowish in color, like the color of sulfur. Don't faint, he said sharply. He did not put down his exploring instrument. If I stop now, the man will surely die. She clapped her hands to her mouth and leaped up and ran out of the room. Outside in the garden, he heard her retaching. She was vomiting right now. Sadao reacted and ordered Hana not to faint. He did not stop his work, as if he stopped he would die. But she left the room. She was vomiting. I will be better for her to empty her stomach. It will be better for her to empty her stomach, he thought. He had forgotten that, of course, she had never seen an operation, but her distress and his inability to go to her at once made him impatient and irritable with this man who lay like dead under his knife. As Dr. Sadao needed Hana's help to operate the man, he thought that it would be better for her to empty his stomach so that she would not feel uneasy. When he was taking the operation, when he was operating, what would happen? She saw first time a live operation. So she was not well. She started vomiting. And at that time, Dr. Sadao needed her help. But what he thought, it would be better for her to empty her stomach. she was vomiting outside, and her vomiting made him angry. He became very angry towards the man. He thought that the person was responsible for Hana's discomfort. So he became very angry. He became irritated, impatient towards the man. You can notice when you read the chapter further, and I will explain rest part of the chapter in my next video. Till then, study well. I will ask you questions in comment box, so you will have to answer me. So okay, thank you very much for watching this video. We will continue in next video. Thank you very much. Jai Hind to all.